I cannot have both open apparently.
Okay. Well, let's go back and just scroll up. Go back to that one that you were just at and scroll up a little bit. And then we'll where it says agent's name. And we'll talk to this piece too. So I'm going to have you switch between the two tabs. Let's start on the other one first, then we'll switch over to this one. Perfect, thanks. All right. So good morning, everybody. How are you? Good. How are you doing? Well. I'm going to keep the lights off just so it's a little bit easier to see the screen. Hello to everybody that's watching this recording. What we're going to talk about today is what's commonly referred to as a CGI, or the Career Growth Initiative tools. And so just a little bit of background and frame reference as to how this tool came about, what its intent is, and why it's beneficial to your business. So just a quick antidote for my own personal business. There are two things that really have impacted my business over the course of my career. Number one was some of the mindset and scripts training that I partook in Bold. That doubled my business. And then the thing that doubled my business next was coaching, and what coaching brought to my business was tracking of numbers. So the CGI tool is all about helping you track numbers and plan your business and tell you what you need to do in order to hit your goals, your income goals, right? So it's a very, very powerful tool. And what I have in my hand right here, this is a weekly sheet that my team, so Carly, my wife, she runs our team now out of the Burnsville Keller Williams office. And every week we produce a report of numbers, and it's in preparation for her coaching call. I originally started the coaching calls, and now that I'm the team leader down here, she does them now. But our coach made us start doing this, and this sheet and tracking these numbers, I would tell you single-handedly doubled our business just by bringing the focus to it. And here are some of the things that we track on a weekly basis. New closed, current pending from last week, new accepted offers, what offers are currently negotiating, who's actively looking, what are our total buyer rep contracts signed right now that aren't under contract, new buyer leads, new listing contracts, total active listings, listing contracts signed but not yet active, new listing appointments, new buyer appointments. What's our pending GCI currently? What's our closed GCI for last week? What's our total closed GCI since January 1st? What's our total GCI closed and pending? Closed volume, pending volume, closed and pending volume. Number of units we've closed, number of units pending, total units, 49. Total units closed and pending. So I'll be honest with you, when I first got into real estate, I mean, I didn't track these numbers religiously. It was kind of like, hey, it's toward the end of the year, you know, where did I end up, that type of thing, you know what I mean? But speaking from experience, bringing your focus and really driving home these numbers is very beneficial to you because it allows you to measure and gauge your business and where it is currently. So when I look at pending GCI, I kind of have a number or a threshold in my mind I like to see us at or above. And if we're not, then we need to double down and focus on things. So here's one stat I'll give you moving into 2018. So right now, a litmus. This is basically a way for me to check the pulse of my business. I can look at this really quick. Boom! I can test the pulse. Look at the pulse. Are we healthy? Or are we not healthy? Moving into 2018, I know our team has 14 buyer rep contracts signed, but they're not yet pending on a property. So I know, okay, let's maybe calculate some fallout. We've got 14 signed. Let's say maybe 4 fall out. Well, I know moving into 18, we've already got 10 pieces of business in the pipeline just on the buy side, right? So having that information allows you to know exactly where your business is, the strength of it. Because if that number wasn't 14 and it was like 2, what do you think I'd be doing? Holy crap, we need to double down and really focus on generating some more buyers, right? But because I know we're good, I don't have to have that conversation. We just need to talk about keep doing what we're doing. So then if we've got 14 signed, but they're not pending, what do you think the conversation is?
How do you get them there?
Exactly. How do we move the people under contract in our pipeline to being pending under contract on our property? What's their timeline? When's the last time we checked in with them? Are we asking them good questions? What's the reason that they're waiting? Oh, well, they have a lease all the way until winter. Okay. Have they had a conversation with their landlord about the potential to break their lease? Are there any penalties involved? Will the landlord work with them if they can find a renter in time? Because guess what? I know right now they can get a great deal on properties, right? So that it just brings our focus on where it should be. So the CGI tool in a nutshell is going to help you bring some of this trackability to your business in combination with setting goals. Because the other thing I know is if you don't set a goal, you don't know what you're shooting for, right? You have to set a goal to know and have a direction for your business to aim for and then track the progress you're making toward your goal. So what you see up here, this is the tool that Keller Williams as a company developed and used to grow. And we're taking the same tool that Keller Williams as a corporation utilized and applying it to your individual agent businesses, right? These are what we call the 4 conversations, or the 4 things we're constantly talking about in our business that help generate profit. So number 1, how many listing appointments are we going on, right? And a good way to think about when we talk about listing appointments is sometimes, and we clarify this in bold, you've got seller listings and you've got buyer listings, right? Because you can sign a listing contract to list a home, and you can also sign a buyer rep contract to help a buyer purchase a property, right? So I would say those fall under both. How many listing appointments are we going on? How many actual listings are we taking? So did we list a property? Did we get a buyer to sign off with us? Our wall of value, meaning these are all the items of value we provide our clients and help service them that ultimately lead to the property's pending and closing, which generates our profit, right? So we boil it down to the 4 simplest things. We need to focus on taking listings, setting listing appointments, taking the actual listings, providing our wall of value as an agent to our clients to close the deal, which helps us generate profit or achieve our goal in terms of profitability for our individual businesses. That's the key and that's the model. I know it seems relatively simple, but if you focus on those 4 things, or really if you focus on these 3 things, they'll generate your profit or your gross commission income. That's the entire idea behind it. So Katie, if you could switch to the next tab, please. So part of what the CGI allows you to do is track these things. What are your CGI goals for the month? How are you performing this month? And then it's specific to the month down here as well. So what we'll allow you to do is, in a minute, enter your own specific goals into your CGI account, specific to you. And then this will help you break it down per month so that you can come up with a game plan to know how many appointments do I need to go on a monthly basis, which means how many listings do I have to take on a monthly basis, and in turn, how many do I need to close monthly in order to be in line with achieving my gross commission income goal, right? Because if I say, hey, I want to make 100 grand in 2018, well, I'm going to say, okay, well, what does that mean? What do you need to do to make 100 grand? Well, I need to do, probably do 15 deals. Great, what does that mean month to month? How many are you looking at a month? Well, you do about 1.5 a month. Awesome. Then we can break it down, if you want to get really specific, even to per week, right? So are you able to access the back end by chance? Awesome. So when you guys take a peek at your back end, and if you have your laptop, feel free to log in and you can do this. It allows you to come in and update the progress that you're making. So if you went on listing appointments, you can add how many appointments you went on, how many listings you took, how many closings you had, etc. And this is tracking. Do you know where the overall goal is? Go to set my goal, please, up there.
And this, I should mention really quick, this is in KW Connect. So if you log into kwconnect.com, you'll use the same username and password as for your My KW account. And then you'll hover over the tab on the right side that says Growth and Career Growth Initiative. And I can show you.
And this right here is where I want to spend a majority of our time, because this is where it forces us to have the conversations that we need to and plug in the numbers that we need to in order to see what am I going to actually net from a profit standpoint. Because oftentimes, when you speak to most agents, especially agents outside our company, they just say, I'm going to make 150 grand, but they don't start factoring in things like taxes, expenses, all that fun stuff, right? So if you say, Zach, I want a net profit of $100,000 in 2018, guess what? That means you need to make how much?
30% more.
Right, more. You need to make more than 100,000 if you want to walk away, if you want to net that. Hi, Melissa, how are you? So this helps us identify what do we need to do in terms of our gross commission income to end up with the profit that we want, right? Because here's the deal. In any business, in any industry, you can have a revenue of 150 grand, but have 0 to no profit, right? If your expenses are out of whack, or if you're spending more than you're making, or if you have a huge tax bill. So we're going to talk about how we can break that down. So this example is just an example that we're going to run through together, and then you can do your own specific to you, depending upon what you want your profit to be. So for this example, we put in a profit of 100,000. You can put your own tax percentage in here. So some of us will really, depending upon what our accountant suggests, etc., you can decide what tax amount you want to put in there. I think 30% or 35% are good conservative amounts. Again, you're going to hear people give different opinions on that. That's fine. Do whatever works best for you. Throughout my business, I've always set aside 30%. Now my accountant's telling me, hey, you're probably going to bump that closer to 35. Okay. But every deal I set aside 30% for taxes. Royalty cap's $3,000, company dollars 19.5. Now this is another area in which we're going to be different from each other, which is what are our monthly expenses, right? Okay, well, if I know what my monthly expenses are, I'm going to plug that number in here. But let's say, hey, my monthly expenses kind of vary. Okay, well, here's what we can do. Let's calculate what your expenses are going to be for the year and divide it in 12 and just kind of take the average and plug that in. So instead of $2,000, let's maybe drop that down to 1,000. Because remember, part of our monthly expense, so we're already taking taxes into account. So your monthly expense is not going to include any taxes, all right? Because that's usually people's biggest expenses, is taxes, right? So if you're spending $1,000 a month, you've actually got a pretty healthy budget in terms of marketing or advertising, whatever you're spending it on, right? Additional means, we're going to put nothing there. Average commission, you can go with 3%. I think in the Rochester market, that's a good number to utilize because that is a pretty good average because you guys have on average, a pretty decent buy-side payout here. Average home price, Katie, did you pull that from somewhere? No. So let's throw in.
Zach, can I stop you for just one moment?
Yeah, please.
I apologize.
No, go ahead.
Can I get the password for the
Yeah.
Wi-Fi in here? I haven't set this one up yet.
Oh, it's Keller11, lowercase k.
Okay, that's it.
That's it.
Oh, fingers crossed. So average home price, what number would you guys like to put in there for the purpose of this exercise? What do you feel is a good average home price to use for Rochester?
$250.
Okay, I heard 200, 230. Let's do 225. Kind of find one in the mix. How's that sound? Seller focused, yeah, we can put it at 50%. Let's get, it's a competitive market right now. Let's even drop that to 40%. Conversion rate, 75%. I think that's fine. Okay, hang on. Listings taken to close. Let's bump that to 90. If you're taking a listing, it's probably closing in this market, right? If you take it at 12 price, you're probably going to close that sucker. Now, listings to appointments taken, yeah, I think 75 is okay. That's saying that, hey, if you go on 4 appointments, you're taking 3 listings out of the 4, right? Or do you guys want to drop that? 75 seem healthy? 75%? Sure. Let's keep it at 75 then. All right. So let's scroll up real quick, or actually let's scroll up and look at this side and just kind of summarize what it is we're doing. Sorry, Kate.
That's okay.
All right. So funding your life. We want to have a net profit of 100,000. That's awesome. So now we're going to scroll down to the tax section. So now our tax rate's 30%. To achieve an after-tax income of 100,000 with a tax rate of 30%, we'll actually need to earn 142, or let's call it 143 if we round up. So for the year, our total estimated taxes are 43,000. Cost of sales, company dollar, got it. Expenses, we're looking at 12,000 annually. So if we look at total gross commission income down here, it's showing us our profit goal, estimated taxes, estimated cost of sales and expenses, which says, hey, here's the deal. If we want to truly net, if we want to net 100 grand pure profit, we actually need a GCI or a gross commission income of 177,000, which means if we break it down per month, we need to be earning about 15,000 in commission per month in order to be in line with our overall gross commission income of 177. And that goal, based on our taxes and expense calculations, will net us 100,000. Does that freak anybody out? Maybe. So here's what I tell you about your taxes. This tax calculation is a big hand wave. We're taking that 30%, right? So now let's be clear. There are some other deductions and things you can do from an accountant perspective that might help you decrease the amount of that taxable income. All right, to include things like mileage, etc. So when you look at that hefty tax bill of $43,000. I would submit to you that with your accountant, you can probably put a pretty big dent in that and lower it relatively substantially.
Just throwing that out there. But if you want to be conservative, looking at a GCI of 177 or a commission income of about 15 grand per month. Yes, ma'am.
I want to just say something about the taxes.
Yes.
Because, I mean, I'm learning from example. When in real estate, you can go months, well, it's hard. You can go a long time without making money, and then all of a sudden you get chunks of money and you're paying catch up and you forget about the taxes. Or maybe you aren't aware of really how important those quarterlies are. But when you get hit with a $15,000 tax bill and your accountant says, well, that's good, you made money last year, but you don't have the money to pay it. So for me, when I look at this and I'm looking at what I want to do, I mean, wow, that's scary how much money
Yeah,
I need.
it's scary, but what I'll also say, the good thing about it is that knowledge is power.
Oh,
Not to be
yes.
cheesy, but now if before I even start 2018, I realize, hey, that's what I'm looking at tax-wise. Well, I'm going into that year with the knowledge that, hey, I've got to be setting aside a considerable amount of each commission check in order to pay that tax bill. A good practice, a good standard operating procedure for you and your business is that if you can take 30% of every check and just set it aside purely for taxes. I've done that since the day I got in the business, and I have always received money back come tax time, or I've taken the leftover amount and I've rolled it into next year. So like for 2017, I've already got, from when I paid 2016 taxes, I've rolled like 20 grand over already for 2017 taxes. So when I say set aside 30%, that's pretty aggressive, because by the time you factor in your expenses, you've usually set aside more or overpaid your taxes. So I always kind of look at it as a little bit of a bonus to me at the end of the year, or a big sigh of relief when I realize I don't owe money. As a matter of fact, I've actually shoved a good portion of it forward. Now, some people might tell you that's a stupid thing to do, because that's money I could be working with right now or investing, right? So it's all dependent upon how you want to manage your own personal finances. I'm like uber conservative when it comes to my finances, so that's the approach that I take. Thank you for bringing that up, though. That's just such a lesson we have to revisit often. There are, honestly, the quarterly, hey Debbie, the quarterly taxes, I'm not very good about hitting those deadlines. I set the money aside, but I don't always set the quarterly deadlines, because I know at the end of the year, I sync everything up. And if I have to pay a couple $100 in penalty on some of that interest, I'm okay with that, which I could and should get better at it. But it's just, what I don't want people to do is, if they miss a quarterly payment, like this is what happens. Oh, I missed a quarterly payment, or taxes are getting crazy. I don't understand that. I'm just going to kind of start to ignore them, because I don't want to have to deal with it. It's really not that bad. If you miss quarterly payments, that's fine. Just sync everything up at the end of the year. You're going to have a small fee or penalty. It's not a big deal. Pay it and move on to the next year. So let's hit this down arrow, Katie. Okay, so this is what I like about CGI in this program. It's gonna do all the calculations and all the work for you. So now that we know what we want to net profit wise, and we know how much we need to GCI, earn gross commission income wise, to net that profit, let's identify the number of closings you need to reach your gross commission income goal. So if your average commission is 3% and your average sale price is $225, that means your average gross commission income per deal is about $6,750. To achieve your gross commission income goal, you will need 26 closings, or roughly 2 per month. Now I want to stop and pause right there, because when we talk about a gross commission income of $177,000, a lot of people are like, sweet Jesus, that's a lot of money. Holy crap, you'll make GCI 177, that's nuts, right? Now let's look at it realistically. Really, in order to hit that GCI goal, all we're asking to do, or all that you would need to do, is close 2 a month. Thank you for breaking it down even further, because then it sounds even more simple, right? No, but seriously, that's where I'm going to go next. Hey, if I told you, Dustin, your only job is to find 2 pieces of business that you can close per month, does that seem doable?
Yeah.
Now, what if I phrase it like this, Melissa? You've got every 14 days. You got 14 days to find 1 piece of business that will close. Can you find 1 piece of business every 14 days? It's doable, right? That's so doable. Now, the average sale price and stuff that might tweak or change depending upon what kind of business you come upon and actually close. But $225, that's a very healthy average price point.
there's plenty of properties selling in Rochester and the surrounding area well above that. So I don't think that's a bad number to use at all. But what I want you to take away from this is, you know, to net 100 grand in profit, 2 months. If you're good with your money and you manage it well and you're closing 2 a month, you're going to be netting a 6-figure income annually, and that'll change your life. And that's huge. So let's expand listings taken. Okay, so if we look at the MREA book, we know seller listings are a high leverage maximum earning opportunity. Got it. What percentage of our business do we want to focus on sellers? We said 40%. So that means we need to do roughly, let's call it 11 listings, right? Not every listing taken closes. On average, 75% will close. So that's why we use a 90% conversion rate. So to achieve 10.5 closings this year, you're going to need to take, so if you want to close 10, you're going to have to list 12 and take roughly 1 a month. So to be in line with your goals, if you understand that if you take 12 listings, that 2 might fall by the wayside or not close, that's why you shoot for 12 in order to get the 10 that you need, right? Or roughly take 1 listing a month. Just need to find 1 home to sell per month. Focus on 1 seller, 1 buyer per month, you'll be in line with your goals, right? If you just hosted open houses well and on a regular religious basis, do you think you could find 1 seller, 1 buyer a month? Do you think you could close 2 deals a month if you were purposeful about holding open houses? Right? That's just one avenue. It doesn't include like door knocking or hitting up your database or events or networking or business. I'm just talking open houses. Just with open houses, you can hit your 2 per month, right? If you're purposeful about it and you do it regularly. Let's go to listing appointments. So if we know that's how many listings we need to take and close, the question is how many appointments do we need to go on in order to take that amount of listings, right? Well, based on our conversion rates that we utilized, in order to take 12 listings, we're going to need to go on 16 appointments, like to round up, right? So if I want to close 12, that means I need to be shooting to go on 16 appointments because I'm not going to get them all, right? It's about to be good, but you're not that good. Job might be that good. I'm just teasing. So the big thing is, are we focusing on our listing appointments? And it's got us roughly at 16. So I would say let's just round up for easy math and focus on going on 2 listing appointments a month. If you can go on 2 listing appointments a month and you convert at least 1, you're in line to hit your goal. Right? So let's recap the monthly goals. So in the career growth initiative, we round up on the activities because the goal is what's important. 2 listings per month, 1 listing taken, 3 closings will give you roughly 15,000 in GCI per month. Go on 2 listing appointments per month, take at least 1 of them, and then shoot for an average of 3 closings per month. That will put you in line to hit 177,000 gross commission income, which once you back out taxes, expenses, etc., will net you 100 grand. What's 100 grand divided by 12?
Math.
I know, right?
Can I calculate?
It won't do it automatically for me up here. Anybody? 100 grand divided by 12? 8,333 repeating. So 8,300 bucks. So that's 8,300 bucks coming to you monthly after tax. After tax. Let's say your monthly expenses are 4 grand, right? Just to live. Well, then you just have 4,300 bucks per month left over, tax-free, not spoken for, to do with what you want. Whether that's investing, trip, whatever. That's the power of utilizing this tool and knowing your numbers and tracking your business, right? So let's have that conversation. Let's say that we're, if we know we have to be closing an average of 2 per month and we find ourselves in March and we've only had 3 closings for the year, what do we know? Yeah, we know we're a little bit behind, right? In the first quarter, is that irregular to maybe be a little bit behind your average goal in the first quarter? No, it's not really abnormal. And why is that? I'm going to turn the slide back on just a little bit.
Seasonality shows us.
Exactly. So we know just by the nature of this business, it's cyclical, right? So we know that our first quarter, as we end third quarter, as we end the fourth quarter, we kind of see this until we get back into the second and third quarters. Then we see this kind of again in the fourth quarter, right? So if I'm looking at the first quarter of my business, and I'm tracking, one or two closings behind my goal, I should be concerned I'm tracking it, but at least I'm knowledgeable about it. And I know realistically, when I get into the meatier part of the year, when I get into the second and third quarters, I'm likely going to be able to close that gap, right? I'll likely be able to close the gap and have maybe 3 or 4 closings in one of these months because it's a lot busier, right? But if I'm coming out of first quarter, I'm at like 0 to 1 closing, now I need to be concerned because now I'm 2, 4, 6, now I'm 5 closings behind. Right, so now I have to find a way to squeeze in an extra 5 closings within these quarters versus I'm coming out of this maybe 1 or 2 behind. So I know I can probably beef things up and squeeze it out here. And I'm going to tell you, I experienced this in 2015 in my business where we had a super strong first quarter. If you can blow it out of the water in the first quarter, how do you think you feel about the rest of your year? Imagine coming out of the first quarter ahead of your goals. Like boom, I made it through a tough patch. I'm +3 on the closings I need, and I'm coming into the hot time of year, baby. Things are looking good. I'm strong. I'm on the right path. Now I just have to hit this hard and make sure I end with some good steam. And right now, if you're looking to impact your first quarter of 2018, now is the time. Like when we're done, you should go stop what you're doing and go start calling people, right? Because the business you drum up now is going to be your first quarter business. They're going to be your January, February, March closings, right? January, February, 2 of the toughest months. Get 1 or 2 on the books for January and February, you're looking good. You're looking very good. And you're going to build that momentum into the second and third quarter. I think what else I want to speak to on that. Any questions? You sure?
Is this quarter, the fourth quarter, the slowest?
Great question. I think it's the first quarter. I could pull the stats for you, but just on the top of my mind, going for my gut, I would say the first quarter is the slowest. The fourth quarter is actually a pretty strong quarter. November and December, we see some pretty huge numbers, especially in December, because a lot of people are trying to squeeze out that transaction before the end of the year or before the holidays. So you'll see a spike of people, hey, when's Thanksgiving? We want to close, early to mid-November so that we can have Thanksgiving in the new home. And it's the same thing for Christmas. Hey, we want to close early to mid-December because A, we want to be in by the end of the year, and B, we want to celebrate Christmas in the new home, right? Then you get into January and February, which are, a little more frigid here in Minnesota. Things just seem to kind of thaw or freeze up a little bit. But here's the caveat to that. If you look at the numbers, there's plenty of homes closing in January and February. Plenty of homes, right? So the business is being done. It's just being done by fewer agents. And why do you think that is?
Holidays.
Yeah, John.
Vacation.
Yeah, you've been doing this. How long have you been in this business?
Forever.
Forever. And what do most agents do right around Thanksgiving or Christmas?
They assume that the consumers are celebrating holidays.
Yeah. They tell themselves there's no business to be had, right? So the majority of agents say, hey, and part of it is I think we want to do that too. It's like, hey, it's the holidays. I want to take some time off, so I'm going to convince myself. This is all happening subconsciously. They don't realize it. I'm going to convince myself that nobody's doing business right now, so I can just shut her down from Thanksgiving until March when people start getting busy again. And then, because I used to be that guy, that was me. I hate the cold. I really do. I hate it so much. I don't want to go do showings. Have you ever been outside? It's freezing. You're trying to mess with the lockbox, and you're like, why am I doing this? This is nuts. I'm just so angry right now. It's dark. You can't see anything. You drop the key like, hatred. Most agents, they kind of check out. And the few agents that actually double down during that time period do a good book of business because nobody else is out there to service it, right? So that used to be me until somebody told me, Zach, this is what you're doing. And if you look at the numbers, there's still business out there. So that in 2015, when I had the best first quarter that we had in our business, that was the year I learned that. In the end of, so when it was October, November, December, we hit everybody hard in our database with the events and everything. We had a strong first quarter because I focused on it and I knew there was still business to be done. And then I got busy. Then I got lazy the next year and had the worst first quarter I ever had, right? Because this is what happened. I started 15 strong, had a great 15, so I rode that wave and I let off on the accelerator in the fourth quarter of 15 because I was hitting my goals. So that meant, unfortunately, because I let up off the pedal, I started 16, not as strong. And we had a baby girl February 16th, so that was a curveball as well. But now we've learned it, and in 17, if you look at our business, it's much more consistent across the board. Because we track this weekly, it doesn't afford us the opportunity to subconsciously take our foot off the pedal. I'm always looking at this and saying, hey, nope, we gotta stay within the thresholds that we need to be in on a weekly basis in order to still be online to have a healthy business monthly. Right? Any questions? So what we'd like you to do now or later, if you can't do it right now, is hop into the CGI system, input your own numbers, get in line with what it is you need to be doing on a monthly basis, and then hold yourself accountable to it. Track it and hold yourself accountable to hitting your goals so that by the end of 2018, you're in line with it and you hit the gross commission income that you need to in order to net the profit that you want to for 2018. It's the whole purpose behind it.
And the calculator will do the work for you. So it's calculating this out. It's telling you the activities that you need to do. What you need to track on your own is simply your listing appointments. So you can come in here, and when you completed a listing appointment, you'll just change that. It's not going to work for mine, but you'll change it so that it tracks the appointments that you take, but all of your other statistics are going to be calculated for you. So through your closings, your listings taken, all of those other things will be submitted at the office level, so you don't need to track any of that in this system. Question?
Where's that screen?
Yeah. So I'm in KW Connect. Up here in the corner, it says Growth and Career Growth Initiative. This page has tons and tons of information on it, including the calculator. So right here is where you track your listing appointments, and then right here is the calculator. So that's where you'll go to input your own listings.
If I'm an agent, like the one place of all places I'm going to spend most of my time is KW Connect Career Growth Initiative, because this is where all the most recent monthly tools and marketing materials and everything is coming to help you guys hit those monthly goals and drive your GCI. Here, let's do this. I don't know what this is going to look like, but why don't you log out and then I'll log in, and let's look at mine of this and see what it shows.
Can I share? I did this. I put my numbers in. I've been trying to do that for years with program after program after program, and it's never worked.
Sure.
And this is the easiest I've ever. I
Which
can't
is
believe
awesome.
how easy this is.
And because it's part of the Keller Williams system, whatever Katie does on the back end from the office standpoint, it's going to connect to yours. And so do me a favor, tell the other agents in the office how valuable of a tool you found it to be so that they start using it too. I'm just going to log in, then I'll have you find it.
So where do I came in here late, so I apologize.
right.
How do you get to November?
It won't be in until the transmittal is done. So it is not.
Zach, I'm in
What does
my
that mean,
KW.
transfer?
and
Yeah,
I'm in the
that
wrong
means we're
location.
going
So now we're gonna go to,
as far as
go over to education.
I do my monthly submission, and then
Oh, I see. Okay.
but you can still add appointments.
Now
Sure.
we're going to growth.
Even though it's okay.
Yes.
I should get so.
Now we
Okay.
scroll down, Katie, I'll let you take over here, you'll find that stuff.
Do we need some sort of special code, or do you have to put us into this calculation?
Yeah, is it asking you for a code right now?
It says unauthorized.
So we can generate a code from an office standpoint.
Now, I will share something, Zach, if you
Yes.
don't mind. A little
Oh my
experience.
God.
And I came into this business as a home builder. So the spring market is right now. People want to
Absolutely.
build Spring. I was dealing with them right now. So we could dig a hole right away the spring would cost me money. Although I had people want to build in January many, many years ago, that we tore the cost up.
I did. I don't know how I see my current.
You
though,
get a big
because
enough.
this is from
caterpillar with a
2018.
hook on it, you can tear through that cost.
in the calculator,
If I just click view the calculator,
Oh, yeah.
you can,
Citywide,
Check
or
with
city
view
out of
full.
Austin or where?
Here in Rochester.
Football?
Yeah.
do you put everything under
Yeah.
yours?
Yeah,
Oh,
it should go.
okay.
in.
He worked
So
for
this is
Diversified.
what- oh no, it still has you for something.
I used to know football.
You might have to close the browser and get me out.
Interesting process.
Did it let you in?
Anybody needing the code?
Now, do I need a class code?
No. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey there.
One, 5. Yeah. Dash 41463.
I know, let me in.
Oh, just being glitchy. If you hit set my.
Actually, I emailed Keller Williams Realty International and said, please don't let Melissa Gregg enter.
No setting goal.
No goal setting allowed.
That might be for written. Have you seen the three closings? Go to 3. That's probably your goal. Yeah. Very good. Yeah, that would be the goal per month that you needed to reach the profit goal here.
Put in a class code.
Yep. 1115. Yeah. 41463. You will, yep. And it's a different one each day. So if you're doing it today, this is what it would be. If it's a different day, then just let me know. And you shouldn't need the class code after you've done your initial. So if you go back in and you change something with your goals, I would recommend reducing them. But if you have to make a change to your goals, you should be able to get back in every time. It's just the first time that you get the code.
Okay, so let's revisit what an actual agent looks like on the back end. Okay, if I can have you hop back in on there. So let's scroll toward. Oops, let me pull the screen down real fast. Okay, so I logged in, and this is my back end. And as I showed you before, so we use the CGI as a tracking tool, but it's not our primary one. This is what we're also tracking. So some of our appointments and stuff like that aren't as up to date in here, because obviously if we took 3 listings in October, we went on appointments and stuff. So the appointments, that's up to you to go into the tracker and put in there, right? If you're going on appointments, you want to put them in there. And I always recommend track your appointments. We do too, because we want to track how many appointments we go on and compare that to how many listings or how many buyers we actually take, because that's going to show us what our conversion ratio is, right? And then the office is going to help track listings taken. So when we did our CGI, it said, hey, it must have said we want to average 5 a month. We did 3 out of 5 for October, and it broke down our GCI, and it said, hey, you need to make roughly $35,000 of GCI per month in order to be online or online with your total goal. So it looks like in October, we actually did about 16 grand in GCI. And then if you scroll down, it gives a 12-month tracker, which is pretty awesome. And this allows you to look at some of the seasonality of your business. So this is showing contracts written versus contracts closed. And look at this. Notice what it kind of mirrors. It mirrors that first quarter being a little bit less, and then that second and third quarter being a little bit more, and then kind of finishing out in the fourth quarter. And this allows you to kind of see what are we writing versus how many we're actually closing. So let's go up to set my goal real quick, and let's see what we had put in here for the original goal. Oh, yeah, click on 17. Thank you very much. So we put a profit. We want a net profit of 200,000, right? Okay, so then it said, okay, if you want a net 200,000, we use a tax bracket of 4 grand. We have our caps. We put monthly expenses of 5 grand, average commission of 3, and then the commissions, average home price, seller focus, conversion rate, conversion ratio. Okay, so this told me, hey, here's the deal, dude. Based on all these numbers, you need to GCI $333,000 to net 200 grand based on your expenses, etc. Well, here's what I can tell you right now based on our weekly tracking. Right now, our business from January 1, our total GCI closed and pending, so this includes closed GCI that we've already been paid and pending GCI, which is in the pipeline. Total closed and pending GCI, 287,000. And this was as of 11/14. So are we relatively on track with our goal?
Mhm.
We are. We're relatively on track. Because I think we revisited it and we realized, based on our actual taxes and expenses, we didn't quite need a GCI 333. We needed a GCI closer to 300. Okay, so let's break it down some more. So okay, I've got I've got my company dollar. I've got $5,000 a monthly expenses. So we have an administrative person that's on our payroll. So that's a large portion of our monthly expenses, plus some additional stuff. So I'm looking at for the year total estimated expenses of $60,000, which I know that's a huge number, right? Holy crap, spending $60,000 a year. Yeah, a lot of that's payroll, right? So a lot of that's going to be that person that's helping you leverage your business. So we bring it down. Okay, profit goal 200,000, estimated taxes 133. Again, this is where you can make some progress working with your CPA, really looking at your expenses, etc. We can probably bring that down pretty significantly. And keep in mind, I kept that at 40%, right? It's probably when I adjusted it down to 30% that I realized we didn't need to go for 333. We probably just needed 300. So it made my GCI goal for the year 415 or CGI goal for each month of 35,000. And if you break these down, it shows you based on our conversion rates, how many closings, etc. we need. Yeah. So this got pretty aggressive. We'll have to revisit it. We'll close 50 deals this year. We're going to close 50 deals and have a GCI of about 300,000. So that's where it's going to put us. And then you back it out to see what your profit's going to be. So, but that's the beauty of this is had we not, worked some of this out at the beginning of the year, we wouldn't have known what our monthly goals should be from a monetary standpoint. And I share all of this with you guys just out of transparency, and some of it so that, I know what the heck I'm talking about, right? We're practicing what we're preaching, and part of having these conversations and teaching and sharing is to help everybody else get there too. So now if you scroll back, or if you click on set my goal again, so that was my 17 goal. Now I can do my 18 goal. And what's really cool is if you did your goals last year, you can just click import 2017 goal, pull all that information, and then you can just tweak it, if you want to. Like, okay, now we want to do more profit this year, so let's bump it up by a certain amount. Hey, we found out we didn't need 40, we only needed 35. Our expenses, actually, they're up from 5 a month to 6 a month, right? All the work's done for you, just make the subtle tweaks that you need to as you look into the next year. Questions on that? Was this helpful for you?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. At least one person.
I got a question.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at my calculator here and I'm thinking, okay, I've got a couple buyers, but this doesn't have a place to put buyers. This is all listings.
Here's where it takes into account when it asks you what your percent's going to be on listing focus. It automatically takes the other portion and factors that in as your buyer side business.
So even if you're working with a buyer, you're going on a buyer appointment, that is in here a listing appointment.
That would be one and the same.
Correct.
So there's no difference between.
Yeah.
Got it.
Or when
Okay.
it's telling you you need to have certain closings per month. Well, if it says 2 are listings, but it says 3 total, it's expecting the other one to be a buy side closing.
Okay.
Great question. But the way our company is, we're always going to focus on seller listings more than anything because the opinion is seller listing is the most leverageable thing you can do. It takes less of your time because you don't have to show homes, and you can hopefully probably pick up buyers off of it. And oh, by the way, maybe the sellers will also be buyers. So if you're always focusing on listings, it's just generally going to be a higher payoff for you. Not to poo-poo buyers. My business has been built on buyers. A majority of my business is buyers, right? But I know if I do that for enough years, it's ultimately going to switch because all the buyers that help buy homes, this is already starting to happen, are going to call us to help them sell those homes. And then what else are they going to do? They're going to buy, right? They become my 2-for-1 special. Right? But yeah, do me a favor and go through this. Put your goals in there. If you're having, if things are not figured out, you're having issues, let us know. We'll work with you, and then help other people through this as well. It's going to be one of the best things you can do as we move into the next year to kind of figure out where you need to be and what you need to be achieving month to month. Because what I would do after this is, once I looked at this and I realized I needed to close 2 a month to hit my profit goal, but then I would look at 2018 and everything I'm doing and say, okay, what are the activities I need to be doing on a consistent weekly, daily basis to hit my overall goal of 2 closings a month, which would net me $100,000 in profit for the year.
And on the same page, the CGI page where you first log in, it's a very long page, tons and tons of videos. So if you forget where to go, how to get something, if you want to access the additional tools that are part of CGI, there's a video showing you how to enter your goals into there. There's videos showing you how to utilize the tools, and we'll continue to talk about some of those. One of the great things about this program is, again, we are doing a lot of the tracking for you. So it actually produces, each month you get your own agent trends report, and that's going to show you what your production is. So you can look, and as you're here longer, yours? Yeah, as you're here longer, it will become more relevant, but it will show you the number of listings that you've taken. And it's going to compare October over October, so month over month, and year over year. So you can see what your trends are throughout the year and where you maybe need to put your focus. But it will track listings taken. If you put your listings appointments into the CGI, it will track those, but you do have to do that. Otherwise, it's just going to look like a zero. It will track your gross commission income. It will track your buyer sales versus listing sales and give you those statistics so you can look and see. And it's going to help you figure out those conversion ratios. So you don't necessarily have to be doing all of that work. You just have to know where to go to look for it, and then make sure that you're tracking your listing appointments so that I can do the work for you.
Well, a lot of this stuff pulls from the green sheet, right? So that's the importance of the green sheet is that helps us know when contracts have been written and things of that nature, and it helps us kind of project it. It lets us know when you actually got the deal under contract, so that it helps project what your future income is going to be. So it's kind of helpful to do your green sheet during the same month the deal comes together, so it's going to be a more accurate reflection for you in your reports moving forward as to when that deal came together, versus sometimes if you're like me, I would wait till like a week or 2 weeks before, do my green sheet. That was business I really realized in June, but it reflected in August or September because I waited so long to do the green sheet, which doesn't give me an accurate report.
Don't do it.
Okay, so I'm going to reports, associate, and then I'm going to go to multi-year trend. And again, just being transparent with you, we'll take a look at what I got going on, the good and the bad. All right, I think I'll turn it back over to you and let you do some of the scrolling. Okay, now can we take that arrow, get rid of that sucker? Okay, so now, this is my multi-year trend. It's updated as of last October, so all of you guys have this available to you. This would generate it for you, or pull it from the systems. Now, how much of it you track on your own versus what the office is doing, that's going to be up to you, right? So let's look at closed units. I joined the company toward the end of 2012, so you're going to see most of my data will be in 2013. So 2013 total units. Look at this, 18.8 units. Look at 2014. Substantial increase. What was the year-over-year increase? 71% increase in my business. That's because between 13 and 14, I took both about 3 or 4 times. And like when I tell you it doubled my business, yeah, I can point to it and say, yeah, that's what it doubled my business. Then if you look into 15, remember how I told you I started 15 very strong, 4 units in January, 5 units in February. I was doing happy dance, right? Those are supposed to be slow months. Remember how I told you about 16? Had 0, a big fat goose egg, January 15, because I was riding the wave of, hey, this is the best year we've ever had. We went from 18 to 36 and from 36 to 47. Coincidentally, I hired a coach October of 14. She helped me ride the wave, gave me my strongest first quarter ever. And then look at that, 8 in April. That's awesome. I'm just celebrating myself right now. Just kidding. But then, I kind of started tapering off toward the end of the year. Look at that, 2, 2, 2. And then I started 16 with 0. You can see in my business that I let up, right? My focus changed. But still, we had a good increase in business. And then I started the first quarter rough in 2016. Look, my units went down. I had a decrease in units that year. My GCI was slightly up because my volume was up, but my units were down. And now here we are in October of 17. So I've got 2 more months to go, and I'm already at 41 deals. So I know I'm going to surpass next year. I'm in line to surpass that year. So we're tracking to have the best year yet we've had from a unit and volume standpoint. But remember how I said the fourth quarter isn't quiet? Remember how I said I kind of realized that in 15 and 16? 7 closings October of 16, 7 closings December of 16. 2 of my 3 best months in 16 were October and December, which kind of goes against conventional wisdom, right? Okay, my best month was August. Most people would say, yeah, it makes sense. August, summer month, it's going to be a busy month. That makes sense to me. But you're telling me your second and third best months were October and December? That seems weird. It's because we put the focus there. We know the business is still out there. So this year, we had a much more consistent start to our first quarter, 2, 2, and 2. And then we beefed it up right here, right where you'd expect, second through third quarter. 8 closings, 6 closings, 4, 8, 3, and 3. And then November and December are set to end pretty strong. I think I said right now currently we have 7 pending. So I've got 7 pending that between November and December we'll have 7 more closed. I think we'll be able to put 1 or 2 more on the books by the end of the year. So that put me close to 9 or 10 more closings before we finish the year, which will put me right at that 50 mark or slightly above. So if I average it out, probably looking at 5 and 5, strong finish. And now our conversations are turning to how is January 18 looking? I think we already have 1 closing booked in January 18. We can get some more out there, right? So closed sales volume, this is the same. So here, from 3 million to 6 million to 10, that kind of hovered around 10. We're at about 10 right now. We're hoping to crest over 12 by the end of the year, just looking for modest increases. Listings taken, we've had a good year this year in terms of seeing an increase in how many listings were taken, which is helping us quite a bit. Let's go down, let's keep scrolling. Buy side sales versus listing sales. So Michelle, this is where you can take a peek at some of that. So if your business is increasing, but your buy side sales are going down, is that necessarily a bad thing?
No.
No, why not? It means your listings are becoming more predominant in your business, right? So let's scroll down some more. We don't lease. Contracts written. So this is where it's pulling that from. Now, interesting, right? We just showed that we had 41 closings on the book, but according to the system, we've written 56 contracts for the year so far. So that gives us some idea as to how many contracts are we writing versus what are actually closing, or how long is it taking us to close some of those out. Contract written volume, well, these 2 years, you saw that we closed 10 million in volume, but we really wrote 12.3 and 12.7 in volume, right? So we're seeing a disconnect in some of that actually closing. Average sale price, this will be good information for you when you go to do your goals. So if you're going to set your goals for 18, I would come back and I would look at my average sale price for 16 and where we're tracking so far in 17 and utilize that for your goal setting. GCI, this is showing what we're making. So, okay, remember how I said we did fewer units in 16 than we did in 15, but we still had an increase in GCI. So we did something right. Fewer units, but we made more money. So we're seeing some steady increases here. We're hoping to get close to or just above the 300 mark by the end of the year. Year over year, we're doing 3% better than last year. But this month, actually, we did less GCI in October of this year than we did last year. Remember, these were 2 of my biggest months last year. So that's something to look at. But when I come over here, had a 0, we did 12, 13, 10. May of 16, we did 35. My first quarter was crazy. But look, here's where I started making up for it. May of 16, 7 grand. May of 17, 67,000. 35 versus 25. Looks like July and August were a little bit lighter. September 11 versus 17. Just interesting to know about your business and where you're seeing your income and how it's cycling through. Let's scroll down a little bit more.
And I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Not only to know about your business, but are you using any of this information when Carly is going on buyers and listing appointments?
Absolutely, you certainly can. Like some of your conversion ratios and things like that, you can utilize to help show. If typically our clients are winning the offer more than others. So I'll get back to that question. Your 1099 income, that's important. That's going to be tracked here too. Then you've got some other stuff. If you start tracking your contacts and your calls and stuff, it'll complete a report for you. This right here, these things, if you track them religiously and consistently, this will tell the story of your business. Like if you've noticed, I've gone back and I've said, this is what happened here, this is what happened here, and I've told you the story. But if we came down here and this was accurate, this would tell you the story. You'd be like, okay, well, Zach, I see your first quarter in 16 was off to a slow start, so let's see how many contacts and calls you made. Oh, well, surprisingly, or not surprisingly, he didn't make many, right? So we can attribute, yeah, that's what happened. We took our focus off. So the agent trends report, very, very useful tool, very insightful. And sometimes it's helpful just to print it off and just look at it and just start asking yourself questions about your business. Like if I scroll back up to the GCI, keep going, right here, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to be like, my God, what did we do last August, October, and December of 2016? What were we doing that allowed us to crush it? Because that's something I need to repeat. I need to find out what that was and keep doing it. Then I need to ask myself, what happened at the beginning of 16? And how do I prevent that from happening again? What do I need to do to make sure that, here's a question I'd ask. Why in the world in 16 did we have a March where we had a gross commission income of 35 and in 17 we had a gross commission income of 5? What's going on there? What was the reasoning for it? What clients were we working with? Where did that business come from, right? How in the world did I go from $7,000 in May of 16 to $67,000 in May of 17? What's working? How do I duplicate that? Make sure I continue to see those results consistently. What's good and what's bad, right? Okay. I think that's all I need for that. Any questions about this, the agent report, or how it relates to your business in general?
How did you get there?
Yep. So we're going to go to Katie will show you right now. Click the back arrow, please.
Right here.
Perfect, thanks. So you just log into MyKW, click on reports. That's going to take you to that next tab that Katie was just in. And then you go to reports and you hover over associate and you come down to multi-year trends. Associate multi-year trend. And I'll show you that stuff. It's also going to show you generally, where you are, what it relates to your cap and how much you've earned for the year so far. It's a nice snapshot. Then it's tracking, listings you're taking, quick snapshot of units, volume, all that fun stuff. And track your pending too. Everybody always tracks what they've closed. That's great, but track your pending. That's what's going on right now. That's what's going to pay you. And see, is my pending healthy or is it scarce? Because if it's scarce, I need to get out the activity and start getting some more people in the contract. If it's looking good, awesome. Now it's how much more can I bolster it? Anything else? All right. Set your goals in CGI and come up with your action plan to make sure that you're hitting your goals and on track in 2018. So we're having the same conversation right now in our business. What do we need to do to go from 50 to 75? It just scares me even to think about it. If we want to go from 50 units to 75 units, what does that look like? Well, I know Carly can't do it by herself, right? She have a cow, hire me. So it's who do we need to bring on the team in order to help us get from the 50 mark up to the 75 mark, while at the same time critically analyzing our business model to make sure it's still going to be profitable. Okay, Katie, anything else to add?
I feel like that's good information for today.
Okay.
But
Go ahead.
if you guys get stuck when entering, if there's a tool as you're going through the CGI page that you want us to explain further or work through with you, just let us know. We're on calls every single week. And Mondays, the Monday CGI call is all about this. So it's interviews with agents that are using the CGI tools at a high level, and it's working. It's being proven by agents throughout the country that by following these models and systems and tracking this information, it's increasing their business and improving their lives. So come to the call.
Right. And if you have issues plugging it in, let us know, or you can always just send us your goals, and we can plug them in for you. We do have the ability to go in there and do that for you if that's easier too. So, all right. Appreciate you guys being
So
here.
you'll help the technology challenge.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.